Welcome to the Ultimate Bloons TD6 strategy series, where I'm going to be showing you strategies for every single tower from the Dart Monkey to the Beast Handler and every single path in between. This will show you how to diversify your setup and get better, along with seeing some stats, tips and tricks, and all of the strategies for every single one of the towers. And although that the series is geared more towards Chimps mode, this will also show you a lot of tips and tricks that apply to the standard game and will allow you to win with a new style. Moving on to the next of the wizard monkeys, we have the Wizard Lord Pheonix, which is the middle path wizard, along with the Dragon's Breath and the Summon Pheonix. These guys are a bit fiery, so let's check them out. First of all, we have the Dragon's Breath, which is going to be an early game damage tower, very good at it. Going along is the Summon Pheonix, which does a mid game damage and a cool late game spam, which is also really neat. And then Wizard Lord Pheonix is a late game heavy type damage tower. Now that's a typo there, but I think it's pretty funny, so I'll just leave it in. So take a look at the stats. The stats for these guys are really good. They actually have quite impressive damage for their cheap price, and it's just really insane. The Dragon's Breath in particular can really do a lot and push you quite far into the early game, taking out tons of ceramics. And then the Summon Pheonix ramps this up. You get the two kind of Dragon's Breath attacks at the same time, with the fire shooting out, and then like the stronger Summon Pheonix that will pop out. And then Wizard Lord Pheonix, you get that Perma Pheonix. This one's a little bit different. It's not really typically used compared to the first two, but it still does a lot of damage if you use it right. So let's take a look at the Crosspaths. So you're either going to be getting 1 XO or OX2. The 1 XO allows you to be able to retarget the wall of fire, which is really cool. You won't get camo detection and extra pierce, which is what the OX2 does, and this is pretty relevant for all of the tiers. Another thing that the seeking does is that it allows the Summon Pheonix to seek. So when you let the Skybird out, the Summon Pheonix will be able to seek around, which is pretty darn cool. It doesn't work on the tier 5 though. Well, for the tier 5 bird that summons, the Perma Pheonix will have it, but yeah, it's pretty cool. You just need to pick which one you want. Do you want extra pierce or being able to seek and move the wall of fire? Now when it comes to the buffs, you typically aren't going to be buffing the tier 3, but the tier 4 you can apply Berserker Brew if you want to. It's not really necessary. It will do a decent more amount of damage with the Berserker Brew, and the Wall of Fire will also get buffed quite a bit, so it's a pretty cool addition if you have some more cash and want to strengthen a Summon Pheonix as a mid-game option. And then the Wizard Lord Pheonix, as comparative to the Summon Pheonix, this guy really doesn't get any benefit from buffs. You, I guess, could just out buff him for the benefits that the Summon Pheonix would get, but your big Skybird isn't going to get buffed along the way, so nothing really to worry about there. And the pros is that it does great damage for its price, has high pierce and strong abilities. The cons is that you need ability timing, and the Wizard Lord Pheonix needs to have its ability up to get power. And then for the heroes, we can do Gwen as a spam strat, any cleanup hero for the Wizard Lord Pheonix, and then for any general damage for the mid game or early game carry, it just depends on what you're going to use for the late game. So that's the heroes, and our objectives is going to be the Skybird spam, Skybird mid game, the Dragon's Breath early game, and Wizard Lord Pheonix late game. And I like calling the Summon Pheonix Skybird just because it's kind of fun. I think it's something that started on a long time ago, but it just kind of sticks to me. So starting off, we're going to be doing this first run with a Skybird spam, just a bunch of Summon Pheonixes. You also kind of can do this with like the Dragon's Breath, just getting a lot of them. That would also work very well with like the triple discount setup. But in order to get this, we're just going to get Gwendolyn down early. We're going to have an area where Gwendolyn's range will be able to cover a lot of the Skybirds, and then I'm going to get a reactor, or just at least something to deal with purples, because purples are evidently going to be a huge issue with this. So that once that reactor's down, purples should really no longer be an issue. It can pretty much get everything if it's in a good spot. It's not like it's going to struggle to pop them, it's just that you need them in a good spot, so the purples will be taken clear of before they get to like all the wizards, or else you're just gonna like leak to some random stuff. So that reactor's up, you can get it pretty early, you can use it for the early game, and then after that we can go into a Dragon's Breath pretty early. With combination of Dragon's Breath and maybe an Alk buff, then you can take out round 40 fairly consistently with that cocktail of course too. So just that should all work out pretty good, and I'm even going to be able to greet a discount out here. Sometimes you might need a little bit of extra help against around 40 if it's a harder map, but it should be pretty good. The Dragon's Breath is quite powerful, and these guys do more mob damage than one might expect. so we can pop those abilities. It gets a little bit close, but we were greeting the discount, so maybe if you didn't do that, you might have an Alk buff up, which would really buff up the damage of Gwendolyn. So as we're doing a spam strategy, I am going to get a bunch of discounts. Here I would have gone for 2, but I accidentally bought range on both of them, and because we're going to be getting a call to arms later, I'll explain why exactly for that. I am just going to get another discount up later anyway. So 2 discounts for a Skybird spam. If you're doing like a ton of Dragon's Breaths, which are all tier 3, then triple discount definitely would be worth it, because you're spending a lot more of your money on tier 3. Also, when it comes to Alk buffs, when you're getting a ton of them, I just don't recommend really Alk buffing them, because that then costs a lot. I guess you could, it's not like a terrible option, but I just prefer to get more of the Skybirds, and then CTA will just be able to affect all of them for the price of only one single CTA. So I really kind of think that that's just a better deal in most scenarios. However, I am going to give a stronger stimulant to Gwendolyn, because Gwendolyn does go insane with Alk buff. You could do just a Berserker Brew too if you wanted. Stronger stimulant will carry over some Alk buff to another Skybird, which is pretty cool and going to be helpful for this mid game. But the mid game should be pretty easy, just because we're spamming a ton of mid game support towers, and then once we get enough of them, this kind of just adds like as one kind of more permanent type of Wizard Lord Pheonix. It doesn't have like the super powerful Pheonix, but it's just more consistent and up all the time. So I'm going to grab that, and then we're going to get a Relentless Glue, and then we're going to get something to help out with ceramics a little bit. It would have been nicer to place this like maybe where that wizard to its right is, so the ice covers like more of the track better, but that's alright, we'll make do. Just one snowstorm usually will be able to deal with some of the ceramics. The super ceramics aren't like the biggest issue of if you have enough wall of fires, but if like some tanky fortified Moab is pushing through a little bit too far, it could drop a super ceramic and maybe leak through. So it's good to have that, and the ability is also going to be really nice on something like round 99. Then I get an MIB, and I'm going to be going for a Call to Arms. Now the Call to Arms is really good in scenarios where you're doing a spam strategy, because typically if you have a ton of one certain towers, you're going to be having a lot of projectiles. It's going to be a projectile spam, and these projectiles typically will have less damage and less pierce than a tier 5 tower, but there's just a lot more of them. That means that when you use Call to Arms, you're going to be increasing the attack speed by 50% on all of the towers, which is a pretty good boost, but also the 50% Pierce addition is an absolutely huge thing, and because all of these projectiles have pretty low Pierce compared to what a tier 5 would be offering, that will allow you to really push through rounds like 98 so much easier. You could even go insane and pair this with the Call to Arms and a Glue Storm, and that would be doing an insane amount of damage too. I didn't do that, it's a possibility that you can. Based on this example, you'd have enough for that and a first strike if you just sacrifice like one of the summoned Phoenixes a little bit earlier, but that's really it. We just spam that, grab our first strike to really make sure the bad goes down and DDTs just rush out, and we have a cool win. The other thing that you can do is obviously can you use just one of these guys. You don't need to get a whole bunch of them, but one of them to carry in the mid game. I just have a 130 here, so I can target this wall of fire right on this intersection, which is going to be really nice, and it's going to help me beat a lot of the rounds. And even like round 63, I can just come in and clear out, which is surprising how good it is. If you were being a little bit safer with the setup, I'd probably go for the Summon Pheonix. That will make round 63 a bit easier, but even like just a 130 can really make a setup that has pretty much no pierce have a lot of pierce. And then we can also get a 140 here, Alk buff it, use the ability, and harder rounds like 75 in the mid game are just going to get absolutely destroyed. I can even take this all the way up to round 81, and then from here you just have a ton of money. This is a pretty big save up, and Summon Pheonix with its ability in hard times will just come and save the day, and that would very easily allow me to buy something like Sky Shredder. So yeah, it's just a really powerful tower. Now let's take a look at using the Wizard Lord Pheonix. So now this is an interesting tower that in Chimps mode you usually won't see a whole lot, but I'm going to show you kind of how to use it. And the gist of it in this implication is going to be kind of weird, but as a rundown, you're going to be having some sort of cleanup that deals with all of like the whatever Wizard Lord Pheonix leaves behind, and because it's just one ability, you press it, it does a lot of damage in that short amount of time. You don't really have to worry about rounds like 98, and if you can time it well, you can carry it from like 98 to 99 and then to 100 again. So a lot of ability timing here, but usually there's going to be some downtime when the ability's down, and you're going to need some cleanup to deal with that. So you could do like a crazy mid-game save up with some good mid-game towers that would get you into the Wizard Lord Pheonix, and then start working on buying like some cleanup at the end. Or you can take this little different approach, which I actually started using a little bit more recently. It's kind of interesting, so I'm gonna kind of explain it here. So as you can see, I'm making a bunch of druids, and this is pretty much like typically what you'd see with an avatar raft setup, but there's a few different things that you might not be familiar with. First of all, with the setup that is basically the same as the start to a good avatar raft setup, but I'll tell you why we're doing that later. So basically you can just alch buff Oben and you spam the brambles, they're insanely strong, but then I'm going to be going for a Druid of the Storm, and then we can even greed out discounts like that. You can use Oben's Brambles to take out the camos, but the cool thing about this is that as long as you have one Oben Bramble up that is alch buff for around 40, you place the Bramble, that Bramble alch buff will destroy the Moab, and the Druid of the Storm will blow all the ceramics back, guaranteed. You aren't going to be wasting any money, and you can go into a super easy Druid setup. So with that, we can get another discount, and then grab all these Druids up, alch buff them a bit more. Oben will then give them camo. It's so easy, it's so nice, because a lot of times people would be struggling with round 40 for the setup. They maybe would have to spend money on something else to beat round 40, like an early game carry, and then go into the druids, which is pretty annoying because sometimes the money's kind of tight here. But in this case, it's going to allow us to do an even bigger save up. So what I'm doing is I'm just using a typical druid save up that you might see going into avatar raft, but this time we're just going to take it and save up for an expensive tier 5. Most of the time when you're doing this, of course, that expensive tier 5 would be avatar raft, and you could say, why not just go for avatar raft, because you're already doing this. And I'm saying that you could, but you could also play it different and be a little bit funky and not go avatar raft and use this really powerful mid-game setup and get another expensive tier 5 tower, like the in this case I'm going to be showing it off with the Wizard Lord Pheonix. But then the crazy thing is that like this setup is also still really good in late game. Like the Oben Druid setup, 5 pop lists, the 2 alch buffs, you got your Oben and the Druid at the Storm at the end to blow back the Super Ceramics, can really still do a lot in the late game. Just throw an Embrittlement in there. Unfortunately, I didn't really reserve a good spot for an Embrittlement, but that will allow it to deal with DDTs a little bit better and stuff like that. So just keep in mind that you're probably going to want an Embrittlement up in for like the 90s and late game, but this will, as you can see, allow me to save up. I could have gone like way farther, but I was very easily able to get my Wizard Lord Pheonix, and then from there we can just add that Embrittlement, maybe first strike, some other support, Relentless Glue, and we can just use Summon Pheonix ability, not Summon Pheonix, Wizard Lord Pheonix ability on the ZOMGs, any tough rounds, around 95. Just be careful of the ability, because it will like go away, and when it goes away you have way less damage, but generally these druids will clean up very well too. So is this more of like a druid showcase or Wizard Lord Pheonix? Probably a little bit more of a druid showcase, but it's a really cool, neat concept that you can do. And if you want to use Wizard Lord Pheonix, this is one of the ways you can do it. Alternatively, also, as I said, you can use like Skybird in the mid game, pair it with something maybe like a Bads, get the Wizard Lord Pheonix before round 80, then start using that, then develop like a late game cleanup. Maybe Permaspike would work out very well. Actually, it definitely would work out very well, because the Wizard Lord Pheonix would be able to take out good chunks of damage. But that's pretty much going to be it for these guys. Very cool, and bye. Thanks for watching. If you want to help out the channel, you can check out these new videos, like and subscribe for more content, support the channel by becoming a member, and joining the Discord to chat with the community. Bye!